As a residential real estate agent, you undoubtedly have people who you know right now who own multiple investment properties. And they might be at a stage of their life where this isn't the best decision for them to have lots of properties that they're individually managing. What I want to share with you today, today's topic is going to be a way that you can approach the owners of these portfolios and talk to them about having a more simplified, passive investment, still invested in real estate, but allowing you to help them to consolidate that investment down into something more simple and giving you the opportunity to list a number of properties while helping your clients really enjoy their retirement years and pass along something that is much easier for the heirs to manage. Today's episode is going to be great. We're going to give you very simple language that you can use to go get more listings now. Stay with us. It's going to be a great episode. Big question is this: how do those of us in the real estate industry with crazy amounts of ambition, how do we think bigger than the building of our own empires? How do we simultaneously seek success and significance, income and impact? My name is Justin Stoddard, and this is the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. All right, welcome back, everybody, to today's show. I'm excited to introduce to you a true expert in this space. She's become a friend of mine. She's somebody who's very bright, very talented, and is an expert at real estate syndication. Her name is Sujata Shyam. And Suja, it's so nice to have you here on the show today. Thank you for joining us.
Justin, it's so great to be here. I'm really excited for our topic today.
And I think your last name is actually pronounced Shyam, which is way prettier than what I just did it as. So
it's all good. It's a little complicated. I get it.
So again, you are the founder, right, of Luxe Capital Investment Group, and your background is fascinating because a couple of things that I think are worth pointing out before we dive into today's topic is that number one, you underwrote for large properties for a number of time and saw the amount of opportunity that's there for investors, right? You also then decided that you wanted to give this opportunity of having a passive income stream attached to large commercial properties to more people. And not only are you doing that, but you have your own investment portfolio. So you not just talk the talk, but you walk the walk. Is there anything else that you would add or maybe correct from what I just shared about you there, Suja?
Oh, no, that was a fantastic background. Yes, I would just add that I'm a big proponent of building capacity within ourselves, right? And so for me, part of that is building wealth. And I'm a big believer that when humans build more capacity, then they will then use that extra capacity to do amazing things in the world. And one of the things that I'm able to do now that I've gotten to this point is develop affordable housing projects. And that's a big part of my why as well. So just wanted to add that in.
I love that. I think it's interesting. I was on a call today with an estate planning attorney. And he shared with me, he said, I'm not concerned about money at this point, Justin. What I am concerned about is time. And what I heard you just say there, I think really kind of hits at the heart of what the problem that we're solving is that we have people who are doing just fine, right? They have great investments, great portfolios. What they're looking to buy back is their time. They want less complexities. They want less potential challenges. They're looking for a simplified path to maintain and grow their wealth undoubtedly. But they're also looking for a way to buy their time back. Now, I know you serve that demographic, and then you also serve an up and coming generation that wants to invest in real estate in ways that they didn't think were possible at this phase. So let's hit both of those. But let's start with the group who kind of we've kind of highlighted coming in, right? As there are these individuals who own, these real estate portfolios, and they're getting to an age now to where it's not that fun anymore. Would you agree with that? Do you see a fair number of these investors, I would imagine?
Yeah, absolutely. Or they're tapped out on their time, right? They don't necessarily want to they have money, but they don't necessarily want to add more properties to their portfolio because that means added responsibilities.
I love it. And they're really now looking to simplify. So let's go down to the basic level, because the concept of today's broadcast is not to just inform and educate real estate agents about this, because most of them probably already are pretty familiar with real estate, with real estate syndicated investments. What I want to equip this audience with today is the actual language that they can take to the owners of these portfolios, people who they probably know, and be able to teach it to them in such a way that people see the benefit from it. So again, if you're listening to this episode, I would encourage you to like slow down and pay really close attention, because it may seem oversimplified, but that's so that you can then take this information and put it into action, not just as an idea, but actually put it into action to where you can get results from this. So let's start kind of with that as a background, as some very kind of basic way of looking at this. What are some very simple terms, Suja, that people could use to describe what is real estate syndication?
Absolutely. So I think the first term to write down, remember, is group investment. Okay, group investment. And by that I mean there is a group of investors who's going to pool their capital in various amounts to put down the down payment. Okay, and then the rest, then there's a portion of investors who are called the general partners, and they're going to be actively managing the asset. So that would be the first term, and we can dive in more, but I wanted to just get that out there. Group investment.
Love it. Okay, very good. So it's a group investment, and it's managed by experts who do this all the time, right? This isn't just like somebody kind of coming up with this idea in their garage. There are people who are managing these investments, very, very kind of active managed, but not by the investor, right? Is that safe to say? Okay, great.
Yes, the passive investor. So another way I like to talk about it is we use the analogy of flying a plane. Okay, so when you invest in a deal as a passive investor in a real estate syndication, you are like a passenger. Okay, and then in addition to you, obviously there's someone who's flying the plane, someone who's servicing the plane, someone who's making sure that everything lands well down at the destination. And so as a passive investor, you get to decide which flight to take and where you want to go and which team you're going to fly with, which airline. And then you get on the plane and you sit back and enjoy the ride. And then other people make sure that the deal ends well, lands safely, etc.
Boy, that is a beautiful, beautiful metaphor. Absolutely love that. I think that's where the stage where most people who have large portfolios trying to simplify life, I think they'll really, relate to that. I would encourage everybody that's listening to this, remember that the real estate syndication it takes you out of the cockpit, right? And maybe the maintenance of the airplane, which is probably one of the big detractors for a lot of people, of like, I don't want to be a landlord anymore. I don't want those calls anymore. And it's really moving it towards being a passenger, right? And here's where I'm starting. Here's where I want to end this destination. Help me get there. Great. Take this flight. It'll arrive at this time, right? That's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. And I just want to add on to that, right? So let's say the plane has maintenance issues, right? And those are costly maintenance issues. Then as a passenger, you are not responsible for paying for that maintenance issue. The airline is. And that applies to syndications too. You just put your money in, in this case, buying your ticket. And then the airline takes care of the rest of the costs and also the liability too. So, as real estate owners, I'm sure you're aware that you're open to, potential lawsuits, et cetera. So you have the proper insurance in place. Well, as a passive investor, as a passenger on the plane, you don't have that liability.
But that's nice, right? Because I think a lot of people, when they look at investing, it's always what's the downside? What could bubble up that I'm going to need to come out of pocket with? And because it's a group investment, you have some insurance against that.
Yes. And, I don't want to get into the weeds. There's obviously there are, this isn't like a rainbows and unicorns scenario. I just wanted people to know that there are risks with this type of investing. But if you know what you're doing, just like with any investment, you can mitigate those risks. And that's why investing with someone who really knows what they're doing is so important.
Now, I know that there's some speculation that the commercial real estate industry has some choppy waters ahead, right? What are you looking at real estate syndication through a very educated, grounded lens? what are you seeing as still being great investments in kind of large group investments?
For sure. Yeah, so there are definitely some choppy waters in commercial. Usually when people say commercial, they're oftentimes referring to office space, so
Mhm.
or potentially retail. And I just want to say that we don't at Lux invest in office space. I've never wanted to invest in office space. We're looking at what I consider to be recession resilient asset classes like multifamily, industrial, mobile home parks. We have short-term rentals, and there's a few other asset classes that we're quite interested in. I would say that multifamily is one of the most challenged asset classes right now, and that's because there's been so much new supply of apartments coming online in 2022, 23, and in 2024 as well. So there's a short-term supply and demand imbalance with multifamily. That's not to say there aren't good multifamily deals, but you need to be careful. So, for example, we do have a multifamily deal on the table, but it's an affordable housing finance deal. So it's got tax abatement. I don't want to get too much into the weeds. I just want to say that there are opportunities. You just have to be creative in this particular environment. On the other hand, self-storage is still selling for a really high price, and it's not facing the same challenges that multifamily is. Again, you need to be careful and make sure you're investing in a good market with growing population and that you're really betting on the jockey. I mean, a lot of this real estate syndications is about knowing which jockey you're investing in. And then you want to make sure the deal in the market and the asset class are all pointing in the right direction as well. So that's what I would say is that there's plenty of opportunities right now. I think that the biggest danger has passed, I would say, I think 2020, 2021, 2022, those were the deals when, the market was really hot. And I think some people got a little bit out over their skis because pricing was so high. That being said, there's a lot of downside protection with commercial real estate if you do it correctly, because it's a hard asset. People are always going to need a place to live. As long as you can service your debt, you'll make it through a down period, which is one of the things I love about this space.
How nice would it be? I want to just check in with all the listeners right now to say, how nice would it be for somebody who, again, is trading out of a portfolio of more actively managed products, right? Projects, to be able to put their investment into the hands of somebody else. Again, back to your great metaphor of being on a plane, of like, I don't have to know what altitude we're at. I don't have to know how fast we're flying. I don't need to know that there's turbulence coming. Like, I'm on the plane's going to land. It's going to be great. And I've got somebody else navigating in and around storms, over mountainsides, right? Like, all of this is happening from experts that really understand this space. Just hearing you speak that brought a tremendous amount of comfort to me, Suja, to hear kind of how the experts at the helm that can see what's really happening in commercial. Because again, most people are guided very emotionally by headlines, right? And headlines aren't designed to inform; they're designed to get you to keep reading. The problem is most people live their lives being guided by the headlines, as opposed to actually getting into not just even what's in the rest of the article, but all of the grounding supporting data or not. And how nice is it to have an investment that isn't so emotionally attached to the whims of the media trying to simply capture eyeballs, but really in the hands of somebody who very much gets into the data and gets into the realities of what's happening, not just now, but what's anticipated to be happening in the future. So lovely. I think for most people, that would be very comforting to know that they're still invested in real estate, recession-proof real estate, and that, there's tremendous opportunities to maintain and grow your wealth without having to be worrying like you got to land this sucker, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'll just add that part of what we do, what the teams do, is they're usually in the types of deals we invest in, it's a value play, meaning we're adding value, right? So we're renovating units, we're improving operations, we're building new units, right? Can you imagine managing a construction project on your own? Well, you don't have to. Other people can do that hard work of building new space and making sure contractors are staying on budget and on time. and making sure that people are paying rent, handling evictions if it's needed, etc. There's a lot that goes into effectively managing a property, and just allowing someone else to sit back and take care of that, knowing that they're an expert and that you trust them, is a beautiful thing.
Well, again, what happens if that's difficult for one person? Let's maybe who's past the age of that feeling fun anymore. Wait until you get
Mhm.
2 or 3 or 4 kids who are trying to do it. They've
Yeah.
got busy lives. They've got kids of their own. Some have more of a need to get a return on that money versus not. And so oftentimes decisions are made that are not in the best interest of the portfolio or everybody, right? When somebody passes. And I think one of the greatest things that people who have acquired wealth can do to allow that to be a benefit to their posterity as opposed to a liability, and create wedges and you know um, you know impact relationships in negative ways, is to simplify it, right? Make it a very simple process with very clear instructions. But I think part of that is having an investment portfolio that doesn't require all of these moving parts, right? Where it's like, well, are we going to put a new roof on that property or not? Are we going to, and all of a sudden you've got the family interacting with all these things, and obviously they're impacted because, they likely own some percentage of that. And I think you're really leaving people in a tricky spot to be able to really have, again, what you work so hard to create be of benefit to them, as opposed to it being something that's not a benefit to them, right? That becomes more of a headache and something that drives families apart as opposed to bringing them together. So I love this concept, for a number of reasons.
Yeah,
Let's assume.
it can
Go ahead.
definitely, oh, sorry, it can
Go ahead.
definitely be a way to help your kids, your family simplify the inheritance process, right? Because how many times has a kid inherited a property and not really known what to do with it, so just sold it, right? And then we don't know what happens with the money at that point if they know how to manage it. So this is a way to actually help teach your kids. This is a way to be in real estate without actually having to know how to manage it. And you can also diversify it, right? So if you sell a property that's worth $1 million, you can put that in, maybe 10 different deals, right? So it's more diversified, and you can more easily split that between your kids. And so, like you said, it's not a source of, it's not a problem for the kids. It can then just be a more easily divided.
Yeah, I love that. That makes total sense. Um, let's pretend, Suja, that I'm a client, right, who owns a portfolio of properties. Um, I think we've already done a pretty decent job of helping them to understand the
Yeah.
benefits. How would you bring it up, right? Let's say, for example, that I'm a real estate agent. I happen to know I have a client who owns 10 properties, right? What would be some language just to initiate that conversation? Because I think some would feel pretty comfortable based on what you've helped us to see and understand the metaphor of the airplane, to really be able to take that conversation to the point to where they can make an introduction to you and actually begin listing the properties for sale, et cetera. But how would one initiate that conversation, right? If people are kind of in that spot where it's like, yeah, I think I know some people, but I don't know how to bring it up, right? Any ideas or
Yeah.
suggestions on how a real estate agent might bring this up to somebody that they know?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's getting to the specific pain point, right? So um, I know we've talked about a couple. One is just not wanting to manage properties yourself. And the other one is passing it down to your kids in an effective way. So understanding, and I'm sure you'll be doing this in your conversations with them, what is their particular problem right now? So do you want to choose one, Justin?
Yeah, let's say it's I don't want to be a landlord anymore, right? Let's say that I've heard about clients kind of complaining about, oh man, I had to replace a roof, had to replace a furnace over here, and during the ice storms, it was, you know, worried about people falling. Like, you just kind of hear this, like somebody kind of bring this up, right? Or maybe
Totally.
you initiate it, like, hey, during the ice storms, how did your properties do, right? That might be an interesting conversation starter.
Totally. I mean, I can tell you that there was a burst pipe in one of mine, and a sprinkler pipe. The fire department came. If I was 70 years old, that wouldn't be so fun to deal with. I'm young enough right now. But anyway, so like you said, if someone's expressed some kind of problems with being a landlord, you might say, have you ever heard about group investments? and then just see what they say. And then depending on what they say, you can say, well, I'm aware of I have a friend who invests in these passive investments, and they still get to be in apartment buildings. If that's what they're in, for example, they still get to be in real estate, but somebody else flies the plane, and you don't have to do that. You just get to be a passive investor.
I love it. I love it. Super simple. I think if I were a residential real estate agent right now, I would be thinking of the people who I know who own multiple properties, even if they weren't of an age where you thought they might be like wanting to simplify life, right? Some people want to get into this sooner, right? And I we don't have a lot of time, Suja, but you also specialize in people helping younger people who maybe haven't built a big portfolio yet invest in real estate before maybe they thought they could, right? What's maybe a minimum investment that somebody could put into a group investment in most cases?
Yeah. Okay. So we're usually at a minimum of $25,000 or $50,000, depending on the deal. And then I just wanted to add on, having conversations, getting people to open up to their mind to thinking about this, is you could also say something like, I like to use the term fly on the wall. So if you're curious about this, or maybe we shouldn't even be talking about this, but if you are curious about it, I can help you be a fly on the wall and just watch how the process works, learn about it, see if it's something that you might want to try out. Or even just learn about to expose yourself to a new way of investing.
I love it. That's a super simple, confrontational, really easy way. Like, hey, you should maybe consider this. Would you like to be a fly on the wall? I love it. So back to, and again, we just have like a minute. So
okay.
Let me just share kind of this final thing. Is that you? In fact, let me go back and say, if any of you are interested in getting to know Suja, I have a couple opportunities for you. Number one, we're going to put her contact information inside the show notes. Number one. Number two is we're at Pro Insight. We are hosting what's called an expert panel event. We've chosen her to be one of the experts. We also have a tax professional. Charles Ramsey, top real estate agent, is going to be present as well. A lender, an insurance agent. It's going to be a really great experience to hear multiple experts from different fields talking about how to prepare for retirement in uncertain times. So we'll be sure and put out the link for that as well. But that'll be really interesting for you to come and hear Suja as she speaks with other professionals on a really interesting topic. So I'm excited for that as well. So last question is this, Suja. What is it that you do to continue to be a big thinker, to continue to expand your possibilities? What does that look like for you?
Well, I listen to podcasts and I listen to books. So I alternate weeks. One week I listen to podcasts, and then the next week I listen to a book, and I make it through that book. And I feel like exposing myself to new ideas, but also listening to the books and going deep in a particular topic is really a recipe for success in terms of expanding my thinking.
I love it. I love it. Spoken like a true big thinker. Suja, thank you so much for your time. I've really enjoyed getting to know you, and I'm excited about the future things we're going to be doing together to collaborate and help get your good message out to more people who need a better option. So thank you for your time, and appreciate you very much.
Thank you, Justin. Great being here. See you next time.
Sounds good. And to everybody listening out there, my final request is this: go think bigger. Talk to you soon, my friends. Value in anything that you heard here today, do me a favor and just take a quick screenshot of this episode, tag me in it on social media. That will give you the heads up to create more content like this in future episodes. Also, if you are wanting to build your wealth advisory team in less than 30 days that gives you 2 to 4 professional referrals every month, go to proinsight.com